Hello and welcome to ET Commodity Talk. I'm Neha Vashisht. Joining me today is Naveen Mathur. He is the Director, Commodities and Currencies at Anrati. Thank you so much, Mr. Naveen, for taking out time and joining us today on ET Markets live stream.
Thank you very much, Neha, and wishing you all the very best and the festival season ahead.
Thank you so much. Well, the pleasure is ours to have you here. Let's quickly begin our show and let's start with dollar and rupee first. Let's talk about dollar index. Dollar index has been all over the place lately from a 3 month high to a sharp fall within days. What do you think is causing this wild swing right now, and how do you see this volatility continuing next week and this week
Yeah,
as well?
I think let me go through a little bit for October and end of September. So the
Hmm.
dollar index was quoting around some weeks back at around 96.22, Neha. It
Yeah.
touched the high, I won't say an all-time high, but an high of 99.56 because
Hmm.
of the settlement of the geopolitics and the tariff by the US administration. The things were getting streamlined largely. So 96.22 to around 99.56 on the 9th of October. Now, last week it did fell to 98.92. But on the
Hmm.
week on week basis, it is up by around 1.28 from the current levels where we are standing at around 98.92 levels. The fundamentals
Right.
have been pretty strong for the dollar. I would say for the last week, particularly as you asked for, was largely the weaker euro because of
Hmm.
politics happening in France, and also the dovish stance by the victory in Japan LDP, the leader who has a dovish stance in the internal
Yeah.
elections, which fueled speculation uh, that the country would go through with a policy of big spending and at the same time lose monetary policy. So that's also something which was negative for yen, and therefore the dollar
Hmm.
also appreciated because of those two reasons.
Hmm.
Although the dollar has appreciated, but today, as we stand, as I mentioned, we are at around 98.92. So I would say it would be a whipsaw. The dollar would move based on the various fundamental newses coming in
Hmm.
from the market with respect to tariffs, US shutdown, and other geopolitical questions arising out. So I think it would be a pretty much a strong volatility, and therefore the dollar index looks like to be between 96, 97 on the downside in terms of an
Okay.
appreciation. On the upside, it would be at around 99 to 100. But I don't think so that the 100 level of the dollar would be broken for this particular week.
All right. Let's also talk about tariffs. So, the US-China tariff tensions are back, and now we are hearing about a possible US shutdown also. And US shutdown has also been happening in the last week. Did see a lot of things happening globally, geopolitically. How much of an impact could these factors have on the dollar's direction in the near term?
Uh, Neha, the US government shutdown, I think, has been happening, means it's been under shutdown for the last
Yes,
week or 10 days, as I
10
understand.
days. Yes.
Yeah, so the dollar has been under pressure in the early trade today because of
Hmm.
whatever, be the shutdown or again the new talks and aggressive talks with China, or I wouldn't say talks, aggressive thoughts with respect to the
Hmm.
tariff to be imposed by the US administration for China. So I think the trade war with Beijing after the Friday sell off would be one of the most critical aspect, apart
Hmm.
from the political developments happening in Japan and in France. A particular data which was released on Friday, the consumer confidence index deteriorated in early October, with the sentiment index declining by to about 55 from its preliminary estimate of 55.1 in September.
Hmm.
So the figure, the market expectations definitely were slightly better at 54.2, better than the market. It has come as a better than the market expectation of 54.2. Meanwhile, the
Hmm.
1 year consumer inflation expectations are lower to 4.6 from 4.7 in September. And the expectation of the 5 year consumer inflation numbers remain unchanged to 3.7%. So, overall, there might be an upside to the US dollar against
Hmm.
the weakness predominantly from France, the happenings, and the Japan internal elections. But I
Hmm.
think the shutdown will definitely be a question mark. And therefore, it is or it will be a volatile market for the dollar
Okay.
for some time. Beyond just the shutdown or the politics, the tariff and all those things would remain in the minds of the people, and therefore it would be a volatile market for some time, particularly for the dollar index.
Okay, we've talked about dollar. Let's also come to the Indian rupee. So, Indian rupee managed to recover a little bit last week. Do you think this momentum can hold on for a longer time, or what are your thoughts on the entire ecosystem of the currency right now? And what about FPI inflows and domestic equities? How do you think this all ecosystem could pan out in the next few weeks?
Okay, so the recent tight moves, particularly for the Indian rupee, suggest that the central bank is using the heavy, or they are getting into the market interventions pretty heavily
Mm,
to
mm,
keep the currency anchored to a level it deems appropriate. So means I think 88 is something of a level where the markets would somehow should be stabilizing, and that's what the
okay.
expectation has been throughout the markets, that it would be around 87 to 88 kind of levels against the dollar, where the RBI
Mm,
would be comfortable to peg against the US dollar for the currency. I would say the overall trend depends upon the which way the dollar goes, because we are highly, I would say, dependent upon the conversion of the US dollar versus the rupee. I'm not denying the fact, Neha, that the euro also plays a very critical part with respect to the INR relative
mm,
calculations. But then I would say that the rupee looks like to be on the appreciation side. Downside can be around 88, 750. Downside mean
okay.
rupee appreciation against the dollar would be expected at around, I would say, around 8750 or so. But the higher
Mm,
side or the depreciation side would be 88 50. So the overall rupee range would be this. The CMP currently at around 88.77, but I think we would be close to 88.50 and appreciation towards 87 50 or so. But 87.50, 88 would be the levels where the rupee against the dollar must consolidate.
all right. Now let's come to precious metals like gold and silver. Uh, Gold and silver, as we know, have appreciated a lot in 2025. Gold has been shining for 8 straight weeks now, but we also saw some kind of profit taking in between. Do you think gold could go more higher, or we could see some kind of correction in the near term?
Continue with the tariff wars, whatever we are now listening. I would say that uncertainty would be a big uncertainty, because the question is China in this particular stance of a tariff war.
Hmm.
So that's one negative because of the uncertainty. The gold might be on the upside. Having said that, I feel the dollar might depreciate a little bit, which will again give a boost to the dollar denominated commodity and the dollar prices of gold.
Hmm.
As we said, the rupee Neha would not appreciate largely. So if it is not appreciating largely, then the rupee prices also we don't see to fall drastically. All said and
Okay.
done, in spite that the festival season is coming, uh, there is definitely a conundrum within the people, and
Hmm.
this is related to that if the gold prices in festival season or early times of festival seasons are high, were high, I should say, if I'm talking about the past, people
Hmm.
used to switch or
Yeah.
buy silver instead. Now, the
Hmm.
story for the silver also remains the same multi year highs. Every day you hear gold or silver touching highs, both in dollar and rupee terms. And the silver also is not readily available. The physical silver is not readily available in the markets. The reasons are simple. Means I would say that the gold has all the good reasons to continue an upside trajectory. But having
Hmm.
said that, there might be a correction on the high levels. Every day we see high levels. If somebody wants to book a profit at around $4,000 levels, that is something which is intuitive and people might get out of the markets. But the overall trend post the correction
Hmm.
again would be positive for both gold and silver. In case of
Okay.
silver, Neha, I must state that whatever 49 plus dollar levels we had in April 2011, which were all time highs, have been
Hmm.
broken at around $50 levels, $50 plus levels, 51.69 all time high
Yeah.
kind of levels. And in Indian markets, true, we did touch 1,53,000, around 400
Hmm.
levels on last Thursday, 9th of October. So I think there is a shortage in terms of the supply, not only in India, but globally for silver. So it's running deficit in terms of the prime production for the last 4 or 5 years. So that's one of the
Hmm.
very, I would say, strong fundamental reason for silver to be on the upside. But at the same time, the LME inventories have gone down. People shipped
Hmm.
silver to the US before the tariffs and the tariffs uncertainty to be applicable. So even the LME inventories have come down drastically. They are half of what they were at the start of the
Hmm.
year. So I think the, the deficit, the safe haven to an extent being bullion, the investment demand from the ETFs and the central bank, the industrial demand too is picking up, but not too great. The currency factor and the shortages in the physical markets definitely would be the factors to look out for in
Okay.
spite of the festivities coming in and the interest from the retail.
All right. So we've reached the end of our segment, which means we're going to talk about outlook for the coming week. What's your outlook for gold and silver in the coming week, and any key levels traders should keep an eye on?
So buy on dips for both gold and silver. I'm talking about MCX for gold December contract. Means I would say that the CMP currently at around 123,700 or so.
Hmm.
The prices for the December would on the downside at around 121,200 and 120 or 119,800 levels on the downside. The upper cap
Okay.
resistance would be at around 124,600, 125,400 levels. Now, silver, which is currently at around 1,52,000,
Hmm.
approximately 1,50,000 and 1,48,000 would be the two support levels, Neha. And on the
Hmm.
resistance side, 156 and 158 would be looking forward as the resistance levels. Buy on dips 123,500, put the stop loss at around 123, and the targets can be seen to a level of around 124,500. Even for silver December, buy on dips around 151 per kg. You
Okay.
should put a stop loss being the volatile markets at around 150, the buy at 151, stop loss at 150, and
Hmm.
153 can be seen as the targets in near term.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our segment for today. Thank you so much, Mr. Naveen, for taking out time and joining us today on ET Commodity Talk.
Thank you very much, Nia. Wishing a very happy Diwali to you and the entire
Same to you.
crew of ET Markets. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you.